What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode here of the Side Guys Football Forum. I'm one of your co-hosts from the side, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of this, guys, Mr. Tad the Side. And Tad, we're coming to something that I think you've been relishing pretty much every single season. It doesn't even have to wait until we're in draft season. You talk about this when kickoff happens, and we're finally going to do
August. I talk about this in August.
You talk about it after a draft happens. This is how crazy you are with this particular topic that we're talking about. And we're going to pay off the tease here. We are doing a mock draft episode
yes,
today.
We
Dad,
are.
I mean, just speak to your excitement for this episode.
Andy Williams, you can go fuck yourself. This is truly the most wonderful time of year. It is draft season, baby. I am so psyched for this. There is so much speculation, so many possibilities. This is great. Every team has hope. That's the best part of draft season, man. It's just like every little kid, wants to open the present. This is so great. The Chicago Bears, we're going to talk about them. There's so many possibilities for them. My Indianapolis Colts, we're finally going to get a quarterback under the age of 30. It's amazing. There's so many great possibilities out there. I can't wait to start exploring them. And it's just this is such a great episode. This is the best episode we've done in years. And we are about a minute 30 in. It's going to be amazing.
Well, let's not count out the Colts doing something else at 4.
How dare you? Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting because exactly like I said, it's just people do these mock drafts and they try and play it a certain way and they think teams are going to draft a certain way, but every single year you get this team that decides to throw a curveball and it already adjusts. I wouldn't say it messes up the draft, but it adjusts the drafts. Teams sort of reconsider their strategy. They're like, oh, now this guy's available. Maybe we draft him. Maybe a team decides to trade up. Those teams that don't have first round picks, they sometimes jump into the bottom of the first because they want to get a certain guy who's available there. Or teams that already have picks in the first round, they decide to jump up again because they're like, oh, this guy's still available. Let's go get him, sort of thing. So exactly like I said, the draft is so much fun. It is unpredictable. It is just a really, really good time. And yeah, we're going to be getting into it with our first mock draft of the season here. It's only a top 10. We're not going the full 32 or excuse me, 31 because the Miami Dolphins forfeited their pick, obviously. So yeah, we're not doing the full
forfeited. That's what we're going to call it.
That's the way they label it. So that's the way I'm labeling it.
That's some PR moves right there.
So we're not going to be doing the full first round. We're only doing the top 10. We're not doing any trades in it either. So it's going to be very just straight to the point. All 10 picks there, all 10 teams there. So
I tried, guys.
We'll save that for later.
We will.
We're not saying it's not going to happen.
We'll do it. We'll do it eventually.
Yes,
you won that argument.
That was later. We want to see how things shake up a little bit after the combine, which is happening next week, and then pro days are going to happen all of March and beginning of April too. So that's really going to affect players' stocks and where they're going to land as far as the first round, second round, and everywhere in between. So, but yeah, I mean, before we get into all this mock draft fun that Tad is just anticipating, he's sitting on the edge of his seat for. We have to give a shout out to our partners at BetOnline because, I mean, with the draft, you could definitely make all these bets and things, prop bets, whatever you want with BetOnline because they are your number one source for all your sports betting needs this entire season. You always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, game trends, all at BetOnline. And as your continued source for all sports wagering information, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest, easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports and events, whether that's the NFL, the NBA, MLB, NHL, esports, MMA, tennis, boxing, golf. They got you covered on all fronts there. So head to BetOnline today on your computer or mobile device, and you can receive a 50% of a welcome bonus on top of your first deposit. Just got to use our promo code BELIEVE. That's capital BLEAV, and you can receive a 50% of a bonus on top of your first deposit. Once again, that promo code is BELIEVE, capital BLEAV, and you can receive your rewards. Bet online, where the game starts. And Tad, where we start with a mock draft, I mean, you have to start with the first team on the board, and that's the Chicago Bears. So, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of talk about the Bears. Will they stay at 1? Are they going to trade down? Who knows what's going to happen there? But like we talked about earlier, we're not going to be doing any trades in this top 10 mock draft. We're keeping every team where they're slotted right now. So, I mean, we're going to start with the Chicago Bears. So, Tad, pass it to you. Who would they take at the number 1 spot if they're staying where they are?
So I'm going to rush through this part. I don't think that the Bears are going to keep this pick. I think they will eventually trade it. I don't know to who. Texans, Panthers, Colts. It will be, Raiders. It will be very, very fun to watch how this offseason develops. I think, like most people are, most teams are just waiting to see how this whole quarterback carousel. Aaron Rodgers is out of his dark prison. So a lot of it rides on that as well. So I literally saw it described today as a hobbit hole, which legitimately made me laugh.
Have you seen pictures of it?
There's people that posted actually surprisingly nice. Actually, I'm not going to lie.
I mean, the whole windowless aspect is a little bit like weird to me. Like if I had to sit in there for 4 days or however long he was gone, like I'd lose my mind a little bit. But I mean,
I think we all
would.
If
you're going there for the purpose of like pushing everything out and like sort of meditating, relaxing, it's like, yeah, it was not a bad setup.
Not terrible. Not terrible at all. So anyway, is Aaron Rodgers going to be a Jet? Is he going to be a Raider? We'll see. So I think that's going to ultimately determine who has the number 1 overall pick. But like you said, we're sticking with the Bears for now. So if the Bears decide to keep on, hold on to the number 1 overall pick, which also was not a terrible decision if they ultimately decide to do that, because there are a couple players there that will benefit them. But I think the one that will benefit them the most, should I do this Roger Goodell style?
No, just get to it.
Oh, I really want to do that though. It's like half the fun of doing things. Fine. God, you take the fun out of everything.
See, next time you shouldn't even just ask them. You should just do it. And then
I want to get like cards
afterwards.
made. Like, how great would that be if I go like FedEx and like get the cards made? God, that'd be great. Okay, I'm doing that next year. But I'm actually gonna do that too. With the first overall pick, the Chicago Bears select Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle at UGA. You like how it built up that tension? That was good, right? Yeah, it was good. Anyway, so Jalen Carter, here's what I like. I love that. Whenever I get the disapproving head shake, it's just like chef's kiss. But anyway, so Jalen Carter, I love this guy. I don't quite think he's on the level of being the next Aaron Donald, but he's not quite below that either. This guy is a physical freak. And I mean, I'm going to kind of borrow a line from Wolf of Wall Street. I'm going to change it around a bit. Don't judge Jalen Carter on his weaknesses or on his strengths. Judge him on his weaknesses because he has so few. And that's the funny thing. If you look at all of Jalen Carter's, scouting reports and everything, if you just watch his tape as well, it's like, I don't really see anything wrong with what's wrong with this guy? And everything is, he didn't play a lot of snaps. It's not laziness thing, which it was funny because I haven't heard this complaint since Jadeveon Clowney at South Carolina. But with Clowney is one of those things where he was just standing on the sidelines and you could just tell he kind of like took himself out of the game. Carter never did that. It was more of a scheme fit is the reason he was taken out. And he wasn't even taken out all that often. It was kind of like a rotational fit on the defensive line all year with Georgia. So that's a dumb complaint in the first place. He's 6'3", 300 pounds. Okay, I'm not that worried. Obviously, he's not going to grow, but he's going to get bulkier. That happens with literally every first-round pick. Once these guys go on their diet plans and everything else, their workout plans, he's going to bulk up. I'm not that worried about his size. There's almost nothing wrong with this guy's game. Character issues, because I know this has gotten a lot of PR recently. Character issues with Todd McShay. Todd McShay, get the hell out of here. He just endorsed the trade Justin Fields theory. So this guy's an idiot. So, and I will stand by that. Todd McShay, you want to come on this podcast? Fight me about that? Fight me. I dare you. This is a challenge. I'm offering that up. So his character issues. Amar, have you heard the story about the walk-on teammate?
Sort of.
Okay, so there's a walk-on the Georgia roster. Because he does not have an NIL deal, he still has to do that whole thing that Shabazz Napier was complaining about, where he cannot pay for his meals. What does Jalen Carter do? He takes money out of his NIL deal, puts it on that guy's bank account so he can pay for meals. Does that sound like a bad character to you?
Yeah, it doesn't.
So we have a 6'3", 300-pound defensive tackle with very few technical flaws in his game that is strong. Literally, I normally try to avoid cliches like this, but is as strong as an ox that can push guys around. And keep in mind, I watched this guy during the national championship. He made my team, TCU, look like a JV team.
Yeah.
This dude is a
not
real
good
deal.
showing.
He will plug instantly he will be an instant great plug for the Chicago Bears. Easy pick for the Chicago Bears, number 1 overall, if they decide to keep it. And this is why they should trade it, because they still could lay in the sky even if they trade back.
No, that's very fair. That's very fair. So I think the Bears will probably stick at defense. I'm not saying for sure that they're going to go Jalen Carter. I think that's easily one of the best options there at the very first pick of the draft. But I'm going to go in a different direction because I think they really need to increase their pass rush ability, and they really need to make sure they get a guy who could get after the quarterback consistently. And that I'm going to go to Alabama, and I'm going to go with Will Anderson Jr., the edge rusher out of Alabama. Because, I mean, arguably, with Jalen Carter, arguably probably 2 of the best players in this draft class. I think you get a guy like this. The Chicago Bears were ranked dead last in sacks last season. They had 20. Yeah. Over across a 17-game schedule. That's 1 sack a game, or almost 1 sack a game. So that's not good at all. So I mean,
that's
you get
terrible.
A guy like
that's Charles Barkley terrible.
That's Charles Barkley.
You do that. Yeah, you do that better than I did.
It's all good. So 100%, I think they need to add that defense. They got head coach Matt Eberflus. He wants to increase that defense, make it more of a powerhouse defense. Very similar to San Francisco, where it's like they have such an elite defense that on offense, if they struggle at times, I know it sort of puts more pressure on the defense, but they could sort of back up the offense, give them more opportunities. We said this so many times on the podcast before. So if Eberflus can do that with Will Anderson, get pressure after the quarterback, stop them on 3 and outs, force them to punt a lot more, that's just going to benefit the overall team a lot more. So yeah, I got Will Anderson here, but Jalen Carter, I'm not going to argue that pick either. So let's keep things moving here. We got a lot more picks to get to. So let's get to number 2. The Houston Texans are in the top 5 once again. But hopefully, this is the start of a rebirth because they got D'Amico Ryans the head coach. They're hoping to turn over a leaf here. So where do you think they go here at number 2, Ted?
I mean, God, this hurts, and this is why I want to do trades because I love this guy so much. But if there are no trades happening within top 2, they are going to take Bryce Young, as they should. I love Bryce Young so much. This dude is an incredible player. And here's a thing that not a lot of people are talking about that I like a lot about him. People forget Bill O'Brien was this guy's offensive coordinator, and you watch the way he plays, the way he reads defenses is very clear that he's already reading defenses on a pro level. So I don't think that transition is going to be as rough for Bryce Young as it will be for most other quarterbacks. I will say this last thing because I want to give a whole scouting report of Bryce Young, but I know that's not the point of this episode. We'll get to that. I just want to say this real quick. I hate these Kyler Murray comparisons. Stop comparing Bryce Young to Kyler Murray. I hate that. Kyler Murray is a runner. Bryce Young is not a runner. He always looks downfield, and there's a particular play that I absolutely love with Bryce Young against LSU, where his pocket totally collapses on him. He has the opportunity to go upfield, where Kyler Murray would absolutely take the opportunity. No, Bryce Young did it, and he had the opportunity. He stayed back. He looked downfield, threw it. It was incomplete. But still, he had that patience. So I absolutely love Bryce Young. There are very few things about his game I don't like. His arm strength is my biggest concern, but it's not like he has a noodle arm. He's not Chad Bennington. So I really like him. Here's my pro comp for him. I think he's the next Russell Wilson. Old Russell Wilson, not Broncos Russell Wilson.
Prime Russell Wilson.
Just, yeah, exactly. I need to clarify that. What's a fire Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson? That guy.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, I have the same pick here at number 2, Bryce Young. I think the only thing that sort of worries me a little bit is just A lot of people are speaking about his size and his frame. So it's like,
Fair.
at the quarterback position, the only thing that sort of worries me a little bit, but I still think he's going to go. He's probably still going to be the first quarterback taken, is just we saw this with David Carr. He was a really good prospect coming out of college. He had an absolutely horrific offensive line. What happened to his career? It absolutely went to the toilet. So I'm not saying Bryce Young's going to follow that same model of David Carr, but just Houston's offensive line is, I wouldn't say
It's
it's
bad.
horrific, but yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's
So, I
bad.
mean, they definitely
It's
need to
bad.
make some upgrades. They don't have a ton of cap space, so they could maybe sign one or two free agents. But yeah, that's going to be a key thing for me, is just if they can sort of upgrade the offensive line a little bit. I'm not saying they have to totally revitalize it like Kansas City did. Like, I mean, they do, but it'll take some time, I'm saying. But yeah, if they could sort of inject a little bit more life into their offensive line, I have a lot more hope that Bryce Young can sort of make it through a 17-game schedule. So that's the only thing that worries me a little bit. But yeah, I'm not worried about the talent. I'm not worried about his, awareness. I'm not worried about the arm talent, his athletic ability. Like you said, he's looking to pass first as opposed to running. So it's like, that's great that he has that ability, but the fact that he wants to move the ball down the field with his arm as opposed to his legs, that's definitely something you want in a quarterback. But yeah, I think Bryce Young still goes here at number 2, even though that make and build sort of worries me a little bit. So, but let's move on here to number let's move on here to number 3. We got the Arizona Cardinals next. Your Colts are coming. They're one more pick away.
Well, that was more for Bryce Young than anything else.
There you go. No, that's fair. That's fair. So let's get to the Arizona Cardinals here. You were talking about Kyler Murray. So yeah, they got a new head coach there, Jonathan Gannon. So interesting to see where they're going to go with their pick. I think it's pretty clear. I just laid it out for Matt Eberflus. I have an idea of where they're going to go, but Tad, what do you think here at number 3?
So real quick, let me ask you this question. What was the Eagles' biggest strength as a team this year? So quarterback does not count. So other than quarterback with Jalen Hurts, what was their biggest or their strongest position group?
Oh, hands down, their front 7 getting after the
Exactly.
quarterback.
Exactly. So Jonathan Gannon understands the importance of pass rush. So this is where I think your boy going first overall goes for me, Will Anderson.
Nice.
Everything you said, I really like Will Anderson. Now, here's a little bit of a hot take maybe. I think Will Anderson will take a little bit of time to adjust to the NFL. I think a little bit more time than people think, where he'll only have only 5 sacks in his rookie year. And everyone's like, oh my God, this is a bust. But I think in 2 or 3 years time, that dude will be a Chandler Jones type pass rusher in the NFL. So I think they go Will Anderson here, because is it me or has it been the last 3 years in a row where people are like, Arizona needs to improve their pass rush? I feel like we've been hearing this forever now. So maybe this is 100%. Finally the time they address that.
100%, because they did have an emerging talent in Zach Allen. He was learning from JJ Watt. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they do have him. But I think just they need to add another guy opposite him, right? So I think adding Will Anderson here, excellent move. So in my top 10, I already have Will Anderson taken at number 1 to Chicago Bears. So I actually have your guy here, Jalen Carter, because I think they still need to upgrade that front 7.
The old switcheroo.
Exactly. You get a beast at the defensive tackle position in Jalen Carter to absolutely, take up some of those extra blockers that are coming in after him, allow some of your other guys to get after him. I saw this a lot with San Francisco and Justin Smith. He was able to allow Aldon Smith to have career numbers when he was the brief career that he had in the NFL. He was really good.
Don't bring a gun to airport, people. Just don't do that.
So Justin Smith was able to help him do that. And I see Jalen Carter doing the same thing. Also, in the NFC West, they like to run the ball. He's really good at attacking the run too. So he definitely helped with shoring up that as well. So yeah, we got the old switcheroo there, Will Anderson here for me, you. I got Jalen Carter here for me here at number 3. So now let's get to the big one here. Number 4. Your Indianapolis Colts. There's still a lot of great prospects on the board here, but I have an idea of where you might go at this position, because I went there with my position. But Tad, let's kick it to you here first for your team. What do the Colts do here?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not going to spend too long on this because everybody knows what I'm about to say. So I'm just going to say it's CJ Stroud. And I mean, there have been rumors of them trading up to number 1 to get him. There have been rumors of the Texans trading up number 1 to get him. And I'll be totally honest, at the start of this college football season, I was not a CJ Stroud fan. Okay. I thought he was a little overrated, but the more of his tape I've watched, I'm buying in. I'm buying in because here's the weird thing about him. His ceilings, I won't say low, but it is lower than most of the top tier quarterbacks there. He does everything really well, but he doesn't really do anything poorly. Like it's just there's nothing really nothing really stands out at you. He does things, very solidly, but nothing really is like, oh my God, that arm strength. Or like, oh my God, that accuracy. It's just like, okay, this is like he does everything pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds weird. It's very hard to describe, but once you actually start watching him, it starts to make sense. So I like this pick, and I will say this, that he doesn't do he will never blow you away, but he will never blow a game either. So actually, I'm not. This is not my comp before people kind of like start blowing up on me, because this is a terrible play style wise. This is not. This is a terrible comp. But in terms of kind of what I'm talking about, like he doesn't blow you away, but he'll always win you games. Kind of reminds me of Philip Rivers. Like name one thing Philip.
I think that's
name
very
one
accurate.
thing Philip Rivers did well. Or like did incredibly well. Like he was never like super accurate. He never had like a cannon arm, but he always like just did good enough to keep you in it. So I think CJ Stroud is a Philip Rivers, and screw it. If we get Philip Rivers at 4, I'm happy. Especially after we got Philip Rivers 2 years ago. So
I was about to say, you want prime Philip Rivers?
I saw that joke
already
didn't
had.
I?
But yeah, I'm not going to spoil it here either. I have CJ Stroud here at number 4. So now there is talk that possibly Will Levis could be the second quarterback taken, because everybody's everybody's enamored with his arm talent and just the fact that he has a cannon. But it's like, the thing that worries me is just he's just a athletic beast, and that's it. Like, it worries me that just maybe his pocket presence could be a factor, maybe his awareness could be a factor. He's playing at Kentucky, so maybe that sort of worries, sort of affects things a little bit too. So that's why I'm a little bit more cautious with Will Levis. I like CJ Stroud as a more polished prospect, so I think he's going to be ready to go from day one. Like you said, he's not going to wow you in any sort of way, but he is going to be a guy who could come in, compete from day one, and lead your team, because clearly Indianapolis has not had that for a long time now. I think this guy can easily fix that hole that they've had for quite some time now. So I like CJ Stroud definitely a lot more than Will Levis.
I just want a quarterback. Just give me a quarterback. Not Will Levis, but just give me any other quarterback.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. All right, so let's finish off the top 5 here with the number 5 pick, and that's the Seattle Seahawks via the Denver Broncos because of this Russell Wilson trade. So they made the playoffs. Via, I'm going to say it the way I want.
No, I'm being a dick.
Thanks to the Russell Wilson trade, the Seattle Seahawks were able to make the playoffs. I mean, that was great. Geno Smith, comeback player of the year. They're a pretty competitive team, and now you get a top 5 pick to add on to your offense or your defense. That's just really great. That's just really awesome for Seattle right now. So what do you think they do to sort of bolster that team with the number 5 overall pick?
This one sucked, because I try to go fun with it. I try to do like a crazy pick of like maybe they take quarterback, or maybe they go receiver or something. But I was just like, this one just makes too much sense, and it's boring. Yes, I'm sorry, guys. It's Myles Murphy, the defensive lineman out of Clemson. Now, Amr, notice how I said defensive lineman, though, not defensive tackle or defensive end, because I think this is the whole reason why I was like, they just need to take this guy, because he is so versatile that he can play any position. Now, he can't play edge rusher. Yeah, if you put this guy in coverage, I think you're going to suffer a little bit. Yeah. But in terms of the pure defensive line, the front 4, he can play anywhere, and he can play anywhere on that line very, very well. So I think this is a no-brainer, because Seattle's, their pass rushes, you want to talk non-existent pass rush. Whew, they may be worse than Arizona. So
it's a little bit better than Arizona, but yeah, they definitely need to improve.
Not by
that's
much.
For sure.
Not
that's
by
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Not by much, but it's still better.
So I think that he's just such a valuable piece, because we draft a defensive end takes a slide in the second round. Seattle gets that defensive end. Great. We'll put Murphy at defensive tackle, vice versa. Defensive tackle starts slipping. Great. We can put Murphy at defensive end. Like, that just opens up so many possibilities for your draft strategy that he's just too valuable to pass up at number 5.
No, I had the same pick here, number 5, Miles Murphy. Now, there is argument that, some people are saying Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech could possibly go here.
Don't do it.
Lucas Van
Don't do
Ness
the
is just
thing.
rising up boards here, so maybe he's going to slip into the top 10 possibly. But what I've seen from Miles Murphy, it's like I'm seeing a very penetrating type of defender. He can get into the backfield pretty easily. Like you said, in multiple positions, whether that's the defensive end in a standard 4-3 defense or the defensive tackle position as well. I think I see him more naturally as a defensive end as opposed to defensive tackle, but having that versatility is nice because then you can sort of rotate your fronts and sort of mix it up and go after, the center or the guard, or possibly, like I said, when you're at the end position, then going after one of the tackle spots too. So having that versatility is great, but I see him playing more of that end position. But just, yeah, I mean, he's really a good defender, and I think he'll probably beat out Tyree Wilson here. But yeah, like I said, we'll see what happens with the combine. We'll see what happened with the pro days, and we'll see where they actually end up going. But I like Miles Murphy a little bit better than Tyree Wilson if I'm sort of looking at my positional
little
rankings
bit,
right now.
little bit. No, he is leagues better.
Okay, well, we'll get to that in a future episode. This is our mock draft here.
Yes,
so
we will. You're absolutely right.
Let's get to the second half of our top 10 here, Tad. Let's go with the Detroit Lions, who are in the top 10 as well, thanks to a trade with the Los Angeles Rams, with the Matthew Stafford trade, obviously. So, yeah, where do you think the Detroit Lions go with the number 6 pick? Because they're a very intriguing team heading into 2023. They're a very intriguing team. So if they make the right moves with the draft and free agency, they could be very competitive, possibly in contention for an NFC North title. So yeah, this pick is going to be very interesting.
Admittedly, I'm kind of pissed because I swear to God, guys, like 3 days ago, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go hot take and say Bijan Robinson. And then all of a sudden, like that became like a popular thing. I was like, God damn it. Wow, and I know, I swear to God, that is actually what I was going to do. So instead of doing the like hot take thing, you know what? I'm going to go with the previous, quote unquote boring thing. But the reason I don't think this is boring is because this is a player, admittedly, I watched very little to nothing of, going into this offseason, but I heard the hype surrounding him, and the more I watched him, I was like, oh, this guy's legit. And it's Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback out of Oregon. This dude is amazing. I love him. He has great speed, great finacity. He is so, like, you can just... and this, I kind of hate doing this when I
love him so much you can't even start a sentence. Like, this is what's going on.
This is why I struggle, because I hate when people go, well, you can just tell, right? Like that's a terrible scouting thing. But sometimes there are just players where you can just tell, and you can just tell with his instinctual abilities, he just has the it factor. And another funny thing I found is because I was like, I have to just be, like in over my head with this guy. And so I like looked up a couple, and I try my best not to do this with players because I don't want my view of them affected. Very rarely do I look up other people's scouting reports, but I was like, I'm too in love with this guy. Well, I looked up his scouting reports on other people because I was like, and they were like, well, sometimes he gets beat by big receivers. Well, sometimes he can't turn around as much. Well, he lacks top end, speed. You just described like 90% of the corners in the NFL. Like those are very nitpicky complaints, which tells me that his overall game is so good. So I think he has all the physical tools to succeed in this game. And really my only one big worry is press. His press coverage isn't that good, but at this point in the NFL, press coverage is just leading to an unquestionable flag. So like if he goes top 5, I really wouldn't be that surprised.
Yeah, no, I think that's very fair. There's a lot of talk about possibly him being the best corner and the first corner taken off the board.
He's got my number one. He's got my number one.
So it makes sense. And you're not alone with that. There's a lot of people out there that are saying that. But I also have a corner here going at number 6, but it's not Christian Gonzalez. I have actually, out of the University of Illinois, I got Devin Witherspoon going here at number 6. So I'm seeing a lot of, talk about, whether it's Devin Witherspoon, whether it's Christian Gonzalez, who's going to be the number 1 pick here. So I think in either boat, I think you're okay. But I think the reason I went with Witherspoon here is just I saw him being a little bit more aggressive in the run game. I didn't see that as much with Christian Gonzalez. I understand
that's a good complaint.
I understand with Devin Witherspoon, his height sort of comes into the factor. Obviously, with Christian Gonzalez, he's sort of your prototypical height for a corner, which is what you want to go up against some of these bigger receivers. But Devin Witherspoon, he didn't show any sort of like he wasn't afraid of any receiver that's coming after him. He was very aggressive. Like I said, he was very active in the run game too. Like, I mean, there's just some great tackles that I saw that, I don't know, possibly may get flags. That's the way the referees call games. He may actually get a flag for a very clean hit, but it could very much happen. But I like that sort of willingness because I think it's also a very good matching between head coach and player. I feel they have very similar personalities that they're going to mesh really well together with Dan Campbell there in Detroit. So I got Devin Witherspoon here going to improve that Detroit defense at the corner position specifically. I know they've had some bad luck with some corners in the past, but I think they finally get over it with either Christian Gonzalez or Devin Witherspoon. I like both those guys.
And this is the funny thing with the draft, right? Because this is actually kind of what happens with GMs. It's all about preference. Because like you like his aggressiveness. I actually watched his tape and I did not like his aggressiveness because I was just like, I like my corners to play a little safe. That's your whole job as a corner. Stay back. Do not go for that tackle. But if you like a more aggressive corner, 100% Witherspoon's your guy. Like, no, if you like a more aggressive corner, do not go for Gonzalez. He is not an aggressive player at all. And that's why I like him. But that's the funny thing. And that's what makes mock draft so hard. And so I love when people are like, well, Kuiper only went like 3 for 10. I'm like, dude, 3 for 10 is pretty good in the top 10. Like that's not bad. It's who knows these guys' personal preferences. And it's just funny. Cause I'm just laughing because you love his aggressiveness. And when I was watching his tape, I was like, too aggressive.
Too aggressive? No,
I'm
that's
like,
fair.
I don't like him.
That's fair. And it's just so funny that you sort of laid that out there about like, you know, GMs having their personal preference because we did this mock draft last year when we were talking about quarters and we were talking about JC Horn and Patrick Surtain. That was last year, right? Or was it the year before? I can't remember.
2 years ago, I believe.
Was it 2 years ago? Okay. But we were sort of doing this mock draft here and you had Patrick Surtain going first. And I was like, no, I think actually JC Horn ends up going first because I think of the preference of, you know, I can't remember who I slated him to, but I was like, I think because of the preference to a certain team, JC Horn will actually be the first corner off the board. I'm not saying he's the better corner, but just he's going to be because of the team's preference. And it ended up actually playing out that way that JC Horn went ahead of Patrick Surtain. I mean, nobody's questioning Patrick Surtain's skills. Nobody's questioning JC Horn's skills. But like you said, it really plays into how a team thinks about their defense and their strategies and how they want to scheme up. And so, yeah, certain players fit a certain profile better. So
2 years ago, confirmed.
2 years ago. There we go. All right. All right, so let's move it on here. We got a couple more picks left to go. Let's get to the Las Vegas Raiders here. There's no trades with anybody, so they're staying here at number 7. Who do you like here at number 7?
Okay, I'm going to need your help here. The Las Vegas Raiders at number 7 take Peter Skoronski.
Oh, you were saying it so good before we started. It's Skoronski.
I know.
Skoronski.
Damn it. I'll pronounce it. No, I won't. I'm not going to make that promise. Skoronski. Excuse me. I'm sorry, Skoronski. So he is the offensive tackle on Northwestern. I know I just touched on this note again. People are like, well, again, but when it comes to preferences, my preferences are becoming very clear now. People are going, why are you taking the Northwestern guy over, especially casual football fans, over Paris Johnson with Ohio State? Well, I'll tell you why. Because Skoronski can play. Nailed it. Play multiple offensive lineman roles. Yeah. So a lot like another Northwestern tackle who was recently drafted. What's his name?
Recent offensive tackle that was drafted?
Out of Northwestern.
Out of Northwestern? You got me. I don't know.
Rashawn Slater.
Oh, Rashawn Slater went to Northwestern. I forgot about that one. Okay.
Yeah. See, there you go. So, exactly. But that's my whole point is people are going like, oh, my God, like all these Northwestern tackles, what's going on with these small school guys? First off, they're in the Big Ten. They're barely a small school. But Rashawn Slater had a lot of similar complaints of like, yes, he is a very good instinctual tackle, but he has very short arms. Okay. But if you have that versatility where the short arms kind of kill you on the tackle position, where it could, the Raiders need help all over that offensive line. So if he sucks at tackle, moving him to guard, moving him to center, it's really not that hard. Well, it is hard to switch positions, but it's not hard for the Raiders to go, okay, you busted there. Let's try and move you over there. We've seen it happen before. So I think that kind of versatility ups his value. So I like Skoronski.
Oh, dude, you messed it up. Damn it! You messed it up. You got it right, then you messed it up again. Skoronski. There you go.
I said it before you did. I got it. Skoronski. I promise I will get that right before the draft. See, there I made a promise. Not enough time.
Clearly. So I'm sticking with the offensive lineman position as well, but I'm going to go with the pick that you sort of laid out already, Paris Johnson Jr. out of Ohio State. And exactly like I said, I think I think Skoronski would be a good fit here too, but I think they sort of need to anchor that left tackle position, and that's where you get a guy like Paris Johnson Jr. Like I was watching some tape of CJ Stroud, and there were lots of times where he had a clean pocket because Paris Johnson was able to keep him clean, right? So it's like I think they sort of need that depending on which quarterback they bring in to start. So they sort of need to definitely upgrade the offensive line. So whether it's Skoronski or whether it's my pick here of Paris Johnson Jr., I think both are good fits for Las Vegas here at number 7 because oh boy, they need the help for sure. So.
Well, so real quick, given both of our picks, and you kind of touched on this already, I think it's safe to assume we were both assuming, I won't say who, but they're going to bring in a vet quarterback, right? They're not going.
I think so. I
Levis or anything.
considered. There's a lot of mock drafts out there that are saying, one of the combinations of quarterbacks, whether it's C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, possibly Anthony Richardson here. I kind of wanted to go that route, but I was like, I think they go the veteran move. I think they go the veteran route.
It just doesn't feel like a team that's like, okay, let's build around this rookie. It's like a team that's like, no, we need to like plug this guy and like hopefully this works.
Because we talked about this on LA Confidential recently with our good friend Chauncey Talese on his podcast. We're like, the Raiders are sort of in a win now mode because Josh McDaniels has a very, very hot seat. So I think he needs to get a quarterback who could win for him now, as opposed to a rookie that is like, okay, we got some time to develop him. It's not a D'Amico Ryan situation where it's like you got a couple years where you can
D'Amico has like 3 or 4 years.
Exactly.
McDaniel may only have one.
Yeah, possibly one. We'll see about that. It's like, yeah. So I think they go to the veteran move, whether it's Jimmy Garoppolo, whether they make the big move to swing for Aaron Rodgers. I don't know what they're going to do, but I think they go to veteran route 100%, not the rookie route here. So that's why they go offensive line for sure. So let's keep things moving along here. We got the Atlanta Falcons here at number 8. Who do you like here at number 8, Ted?
Well, I don't like the player, but this is what I think that will happen. This is the pick I'm really excited for. This is the one I was like, oh, this is going to be good. At number 8, the Atlanta Falcons take Will Levis, the quarterback out of Kentucky. Okay. Why is no one projecting Atlanta to take a quarterback? I get that Desmond Ridder didn't look terrible. He did not look good. Like he looks like a solid backup at best. And if Will Levis or potentially Anthony Richardson falls to Atlanta at 8, which I think one of them will, why shouldn't they take a look at it? And look, Will Levis is the definition of a love-hate guy, right? He has, you mentioned this earlier. He has all the physical tools there to succeed. Mm-hmm. He has a rocket arm. He throws a beautiful spiral. He, has pretty solid mobility. I'm not going to say it's like a Lamar Jackson type because that would be, stupid. But he has that mobility to, move around the pocket and move downfield. The problem is he just needs so much development. He tries to make every play a big home run play. He's like the wannabe Steph Curry of college football last year. He was like, no, I can throw a 50-yard touchdown. It's like, you're on the 20. Relax, dude. Like, just hit your check down. And he tries to make so many things happen. He is so confident. And it was funny because I actually had a similar complaint about Kenny Pickett last year. It was like, throw the ball. And he just got sacked. Good job, dude. And he's a hugely frustrating player because you can see all the promise there, but it's just going to take the right coaching staff to form that up. And honestly, what better coach than the guy that made Ryan Tannehill look good? Like Arthur Smith, like that pairing. Oh, that could be dirty. Dirty words, get it? Dirty words.
I like it. No, that's actually one of the few jokes I liked, actually.
Yes!
You've done in 2 years of this podcast. That's one of the few that I actually liked. But it's actually
even a blind squirrel finds a nut.
It's actually funny, Ted, because you're saying you like the pairing of Arthur Smith and Will Levis. I'm saying that's the reason they don't go with Will Levis, because Arthur Smith has won with Ryan Tannehill, who doesn't have the physical gifts that a Will Levis had. And obviously, one of the biggest rumors out there in the offseason is that Atlanta is very much in the market for Lamar Jackson, who you
I was worried about that. So I was worried about that when I made this.
I'm wondering if that's part of the reason why lots of these mock drafts are not putting Will Levis there at number 8. And like you said, I think they have Desmond Ridder. I think they want to see what they have from him for one more year at least. I understand that they got some better quarterbacks coming out next year with your Caleb Williams and
that's fair.
A bunch of other quarterbacks that I can't think of off the top of my head right now, but just like there's a possibility that they can upgrade at the position next year too. So that's why I'm not seeing Will Levis go here at number 8. So what I have here at number 8 is whatever is left over between Tyree Wilson and Miles Murphy. So in this case, it's
Mm.
Tyree Wilson here at Texas Tech. They need to upgrade that pass rush. Grady Jarrett's getting up there in years. He can't do this forever. They lost a lot of their pass rushers with Foye Oluokwan and Deion Jones, and some of those guys are gone too. So they need to upgrade that defensive line to get after the quarterback, because we talked about this once again on LA Podfidential. The NFC South is wide open. If you could sort of cement yourself to sort of improve at certain places, you could compete in that division to win the division for sure. So yeah, you get a guy like Tyree Wilson, that's a big step in the right direction. So yeah, I think they upgrade the pass rush with Tyree Wilson. Very good defender, very good pass rusher. He's going to go into Atlanta. Not change his colors, go from black and red Texas Tech to black and red at Atlanta. So I like that.
Yeah, not bad. That would also be about the 8th pass rusher the Falcons have drafted in about the last decade.
No, that's fair, but there's a reason why they keep doing it, because they just
it's like it's that and the Miami Dolphins drafting O linemen. Like those two are just yeah.
So let's get to the final 2 picks here. We got number 9 here with the Carolina Panthers. Which direction do you think they go here at number 9?
Run on quarterbacks now. I think the Panthers kind of panic, being like, well, we need somebody. So I think they kind of reach, not even a little bit, they reach and take Anthony Richardson. I like Anthony Richardson a lot. Unfortunately, he is a project. He is the perfect end, he's, I hate making this comparison because their play style is not similar, but I do like just in terms of development. He is Lamar Jackson 2.0. And what I mean by that, again, not by
Lamar Jackson this episode.
Like, not by play style. Not by play style, though. Here's what I mean, though. Lamar Jackson, taken at the end of the first round, was given a couple years to develop, and then you could just tell he developed his game for a year or two, and then he was good to go. That's Anthony Richardson right there. But the problem is, just because quarterbacks, I had a friend text me a couple days ago of like, why is he being projected in the top 10? I thought he wasn't that good. And it is a mix of overvalued quarterbacks, but it's also a good mix of he has all the physical tools, kind of like what we were talking about earlier. There's everything there to succeed. He just needs the right coaching. And so while I don't love this Panthers fit for him, because if he goes to the Panthers, unless they find a bridge quarterback, he will start right away. I think this is what will happen, is because the Panthers, they need somebody. I don't think they're going to leave this draft without a quarterback in the first 2 rounds.
That's very fair, but I think the biggest thing for me is that I still have a little bit of hope that Matt Corral is going to pan out for them. I know they're going to lose Sam Darnold in free agency. They got PJ Walker on the roster too, but there's a reason they drafted Matt Corral last year. Fortunately, he had the injury, so he didn't play at all last year. I think he definitely would have played based on how that quarterback situation was going last season. So I think
at some point he definitely would have.
100% he would have. So I think going into 2023 now, he's going to be healthy. I think he's going to be definitely part of that competition. But yeah, you're right. Maybe they're going to get a quarterback to insert into the competition with PJ Walker, Matt Corral, and then in your case, your pick here, Anthony Richardson. Maybe they bring in a vet as well for competition, see who could sort of beat each other out. So I got a quarterback position here too. I'm not super in love with it, but I think, like you said, the Panthers sort of need to get another quarterback who could possibly inject some life into that offense. And I think David Tepper, the owner, is getting very frustrated, getting impatient.
Oh, yes, he is. Yes, he is.
He might get enamored by this guy. And I know we sort of talked about him a little bit as far as him being a physical freak, but maybe not so much, being a neck down player as opposed to being a neck up player. And that's Will Levis, the quarterback out of Kentucky. So it's like, I think with this offense, he's going to be raw. Obviously, he's going to need time to develop. And I think the Panthers will sort of take this here and sort of take him as a project. Frank Reich has worked with quarterbacks before. I think he's going to take him on as a project here. He has experience with that. So I think, like I said, between him and Anthony Richardson, I think because of the physical tools that Will Levis has, he may go ahead of Anthony Richardson in this case. But I do like the Anthony Richardson fit to Carolina. I think that's a pretty good fit there. But yeah, I think we're both in agreement. They probably go quarterback at number 9 to see where things can go from there, right? So let's get to the last pick here. Number 10, it is the NFC champion Super Bowl, not Super Bowl winners, unfortunately. They were close to winning.
Runner-ups.
That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. The Philadelphia Eagles, thanks to the New Orleans Saints in the trade last year. So where do you think they go to close out the top 10 here, Ted?
If I'm an Eagles fan, it was funny you should ask that, because I was like, okay, I have all these players left, and I was looking, I'm like, oh my God, if this happens, this is just not fair. Because if I'm an Eagles fan, I'm losing my mind at this pick. I think if he is still there, the Eagles, there is no way they pass up Tyree Wilson. Like, that would be insane. That would be crazy, because what did you say earlier? Their front 7 was their biggest strength. The problem is half of their front 7 is either going to retire or leave in free agency this year. Like, that's the Eagles' big issue. It's like they are losing a ton of good players to free agency. Now, Bijan Robinson's also an interesting name to hold on to, but I think that Sirianni is confident enough that like we can make do with some mid-round receiver, maybe Dwayne McBride. Listen to our last episode for a preview on that. Oh my God, that just hit me. Dwayne McBride in that offense. Whoo!
A lot of great running backs that could get late.
Yeah,
Dwayne McBride, Tajay Spears. I mean, Chase Brown, who I really like. Deuce Vaughn.
Stop putting that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Sorry. We'll get to that in another episode. But yeah, I think that's a smarter move that they don't go with Bijan Robinson here.
Exactly. But anyway, in a way, this pick almost reminds me of, God damn, Ray feel old. About a decade ago when the Eagles selected Brandon Graham, and a lot of people were like, oh, that's a risky pick. This is a pure athlete. Yeah. And look how well that turned out. Is he was arguably one of the best Eagles pass rushers of all time. And so I think that they can surround him with enough talent, him being Tyree Wilson, where he can develop, because that's his big thing. He has all the physical tools to succeed, but he needs time to develop some technique because he's so used to just bull rushing and being bigger than everybody else in college that you're not going to do that in the pros. He will do it sometimes, but to be truly good, you need to learn a little bit. And the Eagles is a perfect situation there because and situation is a very purposeful word because he will be a situational pass rusher for 1 or 2 years. That third year, oh man, look out for him.
Hassan Reddick, Jordan Davis from last year's draft.
Good Lord.
Possibly Tyree Wilson. Then you also have to remember they have Josh Sweat. They'll be fine losing some of those free agents or all of them. Like they'll be just fine. But yeah, that's a match made in heaven for sure.
Like I said, I was looking at all the prospects that I had left on my big board, and I was just like, oh, that's just too good.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even like the Eagles. I kind of hate them, to be honest. And I was just like, is Howie Roseman third GM, right?
Yep.
Yeah. If I'm Howie Roseman and Tyree Wilson's there, I'm like, don't even use the full time and just call him. Sure, there's 9 minutes, 30 seconds left. I don't care. Call him.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm also looking at the roster and I'm seeing their potential free agents. So they got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who's a potential free agent. They got James Bradbury, who's a potential free agent as well. They only have Avonte Maddox in the slot. So I think they filled the corner position, possibly bringing back one of those guys, whether it's Gardner-Johnson or James Bradbury, and they go the corner position. So I already have Devin Weatherspoon going to number 6 to the Detroit Lions. So I have your guy, Christian Gonzalez, here going to the Philadelphia Eagles at number 10. Like, I mean, this is just crazy. The fact that
it's not fair. They were in the Super Bowl. Why are they getting all these good players?
Exactly. They have a day one starter at Gonzalez. He's a perfect fit for that defense. I really think they're going to be just fine inserting him as a day one starter opposite of James Bradbury or a Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I think they'll probably go with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson over James Bradbury. I heard Bradbury sort of wants to get more money, so he's probably not going to get paid by the Eagles for sure. So yeah, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson on one side, then you got Christian Gonzalez on the other side. Once again, they're sad sort of thing there. So, but yeah, they have a litany of picks that they can sort of go through when they get to number 10, which is crazy because, yeah, they were just in the Super Bowl, which is just insane.
3 points away from winning the thing.
Exactly.
3 points in a Rihanna platform.
So those are our top 10 picks. And yeah, in case you're sort of skipping ahead and you just want to get through all the picks and you sort of miss some of the picks that we had, or you're listening through and you're like, wait, who did Tad pick? Who did Umar pick? What's going on here? Don't worry, we got you covered. You see our social media handles down below. This is the time where we're plugging it. We're going to be posting graphics of both of our top 10 picks, so you'll be able to see it all as you're listening to the episode, or, if you're in a hurry and you don't want to listen to the episode, which, will be a little bit hurt inside. But if you just want to see the picks, you can go to our social media handles.
A lot hurt.
Yeah, a lot hurt for sure. So you see our social media handles down below. You can find us on Twitter. My personal handle, Side23. You got Tads at Side94. The show handle, Decide, guys. And of course, we've said this before. All graphics go on Instagram first before they go onto Twitter. So make sure you follow us on Instagram at Decide, guys. That's where the graphics are going to go first. So make sure you're doing all of that. And I mean, I know this was a little bit longer than some of our previous episodes, but we got a lot of great content.
By like 6 minutes. It's draft stuff. It's
maybe. But yeah, we appreciate everybody who tuned in the whole way, and we got a lot more great content. We sort of talked about it. There were some topics that we wanted to get to, but we're like, we'll save it for another episode. Yeah, we got a lot of more great content coming for you the rest of this month and every single day leading up to the draft for sure. So make sure you're subscribing wherever you listen to your podcast, whether that's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. You listen right on the LEFB Network website, wherever you listen to your podcast. Hit that subscribe button. Always be up to date with all of our podcasts and when they're dropping. And hey, you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And also make sure you subscribe to the LEFB Network YouTube channel. We have our own individual playlist there still. So make sure you got both fronts covered because, yeah, we got a lot of great content coming for you on both sides there. And yeah, who knows? We may be dropping a couple articles. So make sure you check out the LEFB Network website as well. So, guys, there's a lot of things you can be doing with our podcast, whether you're watching, listening, reading, interacting with us on social media, anything and everything, guys, that you're doing. We really just can't thank you enough.
And guys, just in case, let me go pessimistic here for a second. In case you think our takes suck, don't worry, because we have plans to bring on way more people to bring on to, argue with us, to bring in other top tens, argue that, maybe Christian Gonzalez isn't this great. What the hell are you guys talking about? Because, Amir, I know you don't watch a whole lot of college football. Yeah. I'm asleep by the time Pac-12 football comes on most of the time. So we have a lot of Pac-12 experts coming on. So they are going to give us great analysis. They're going to give us great mock drafts, but you can always find it here on the Decide Guys Football Forum. So as always, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And please stay safe, everyone.